Public companies. This section is aimed at those of you who work for public companies, but it offers valuable knowledge for anyone in a business setting. Publicly traded companies have quarterly calls, or meetings, in which they release their results. Investors will ask about any number of things, including the metrics that are customarily used in your industry. When I was HGTV's COO, one of my key duties was distribution. My job and that of my distribution team was to sell HGTV to cable operators and satellite providers, who would then transmit the network into viewer homes. Each viewer who received HGTV was called a subscriber. The investors would grill me about how many subscribers we had, how many would be rolling out from new deals, timelines, and the like. They did this because they had a formula, which said these subscribers were worth $10 each. I have no idea where that formula originated, but when a network like ours was still losing money, the financials hung on how many subscribers you had, which investors could then translate into the intrinsic value of the business. Once we turned profitable, they looked at multiples of cash flow and enterprise value and earnings. Each company has its own key metrics that investors will want to dissect. You must be knowledgeable about them if you are in these meetings. The Dow. When I was back in graduate school about 1,000,000 years ago, getting a master's degree in advertising, there was a married couple in the program. I'll call them the couple because I can't recall their names. They were nice enough, but it sure seemed they had no social life outside of themselves and school. I had no problem having a social life outside of school, if you get my drift. When we were close to graduating, we all began interviewing for jobs. The couple was always a step or two ahead of the rest of us in getting the interviews, and certainly in getting job offers. One day, they were replaying for us a more challenging interview they had each had. Who knows, maybe they interviewed as a package. But no problem, they aced it. The ad agency interviewer had asked if they knew what the Dow Jones represented, and what the current Dow Jones average was that day. 1,200, one of them replied with a smug smile. Meanwhile, I was thinking, the Dow? WTF? The couple actually helped me a great deal. I went home and learned all about the Dow, because heaven forbid it would come up in one of my interviews, and I wouldn't be prepared. It never did. This conditioning greatly helped me when I went to work at CNBC, because the network's mission was to be a knowledgeable money manager for those watching the channel. Follow the Dow and the S&P if you work in a publicly traded company. They are important indicators of the overall financial health of the economy. Summing it up. Getting to be comfortable with the language of numbers is a critical skill set for executive management. I learned it on the job, through continuing education, and by asking others for help. Even with the education I got, I still carried around a little cheat sheet of financial terms and their definitions, such as the difference between cash flow and free cash flow, and other terms that investors would banter around on our quarterly calls. I met with my CFO constantly to continue my education. To be an effective leader, you can never stop learning or asking others for help. One of our most visible female leaders agrees. In Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor's 2013 book, My Beloved World, she says she has asked others for their wisdom throughout her life. She recounts a time in grade school when she learned from another girl how to study. The most critical lesson I learned that day is still one too many kids never figure out. Don't be shy about making a teacher of any willing party who knows what he or she is doing. In retrospect, I can see how important that pattern would become for me, how readily I've sought out mentors, asking guidance from professors or colleagues, and in every friendship soaking up early whatever that friend could teach me. For someone who thought the Dow was a cleaning product, I'm living proof you can learn enough about finance to be informed, well-reasoned, and dangerous to your competition. Skill 3. A global perspective. You can't consider your conditioning complete until you've taken the practice to a global level.